And we're continuing with the 8th chapter of An Acceptable Time. The battle had been noisy and rough rather than lethal. The wounded were gathered together. The raiders were in long, swift canoes and were already well out into the lake, paddling fiercely. Among the people of the wind was a woman whose hair was white and who had a broken arrow still stuck in her shoulder. Corrales looked around and saw Polly. Our eagle woman is hurt and cannot help with the wounded. Cub and I will have to have some assistance. What we need is a steady hand and head. He looked at her questioningly. Sure, I'll do what I can, Polly said. I'm not afraid of blood. She looked around for Zachary, but did not see him anywhere. Meanwhile, she was obviously needed. She turned to Corrales, who introduced her to a young man who had a gray wolfskin over his shoulder. The young man who had been at the Circle of Standing Stones on Halloween, Sam Hain. This is Cub, our young healer. I have not the experience of Corrales or the old wolf, the young man said. I will be grateful for your help. She did whatever Corrales and Cub told her to do when they took the arrow from the eagle woman's shoulder, which had been broken from the impact. She clenched her teeth while they worked. Polly kept wetting a soft piece of leather and wiping the sweat from her face. Then they moved on to set broken bones, staunch blood from a few wounds. Mostly what was required of Polly was to hold a bowl of clean water and replenish it from the lake after each use. One of the raiders was laid out with a concussion, and Corrales had him stretched out on a bed of moss, covered with skins to keep him warm. Another had been left behind with a compound of his leg, and Polly helped hold his head while Corrales and Cub set the leg. It was a bad break, and the young raider clutched her in pain. Cub gave him something to drink, telling him it would ease the pain, then poured a thick greenish liquid into the wound where the jagged bone had broken through the skin, explaining that this would help prevent infection. When the leg was set and bound between two splints, the young raider was able to talk. Polly had difficulty in understanding him, and Corrales translated for her. He says their crops have failed. There is no corn. Their grazing grounds are parched, and the earth is dry and hard. They will not have enough to eat this winter. They will raid us again with more men this time. They have no choice, he says. If they do not take our land and our crops and herds, they will starve. Couldn't they just come and ask you to share with them? Polly asked. Corrales sighed. That is not how it is done. Well, Polly sighed too. At least nobody was killed. This time, Corrales said. Thank you for your help, Polly. He glanced over at the white-haired woman, who was still among the wounded, her shoulder held immobile by a stiff leather sling. Eagle woman is our... He paused, searching for the right word. Medicine woman, Polly suggested. Witch doctor? Shaman? Corrales shook his head. None of these words had any meaning to him. From what the Heron tells me, I think she is something like what you call doctor, and that you have no one like Cub, who is healer. She has knowledge of herbs and the cure of fevers and chills, and helps Cub nurse the sick or hurt. But the wound in her shoulder will keep Eagle Woman from work for some time. The bone is shattered where the arrow penetrated. You have done well. You did not need to turn away. You have training in the care of wounds? Polly shook her head. I come from a large family, and when we lived on Gaia, an island far away, where there weren't any doctors, when anybody was hurt or sick, I helped my parents. Corrales, where is Zachary? She had followed Zachary out of a sense of responsibility, and now she had no idea where he was. Zach? He was with me, the one I told you about, who saw Anaril. He was with me, and then, when the fighting began, I forgot about him. Corrales looked troubled. He is here. That's why I'm here, Polly said. I tried to stop him, but then I couldn't let him come alone, so... I do not understand why he is here, Corrales said. Neither do I. He is an unexpected complication. He may change the pattern. Corrales, Polly pondered the question, if Zachary and I have come to your time, couldn't that change what happens in our time? Yes, Corrales replied calmly. The future is often changed by the past. There may indeed be many futures, but someone blundering into our time who is not part of the pattern may tangle and knot the lines. Unless, Polly questioned, he is part of the pattern? It is possible, Corrales said. If it is so, then it will not be easy. But where is he? Anaril came up to them, hearing the question. Zach, he is all right. He is with Bishop. Polly then remembered that Dr. Louise had said her brother had gone off wearing hiking boots. Had he crossed the time threshold knowing that he would be needed? Anarol had brought a clean bowl of water so that Corrales and Polly could wash their hands. The druid looked at Polly gravely. You were a very great help. You are brave. Oh, I didn't do anything much. Your hands have the gift, Corrales pronounced. You should serve it. Now we must join the others at the Standing Stones. They will be waiting. And we'll pause there.